Yeah, we're pretty crap for snow. Like it's yeah, we're not great, but it exists, but that's about it. Yeah.
They just have one little corner. It's much like there's a location where I live where they just, in the summertime, they create snow and it's all down like an entire mountain. That's what, I assume that's what you guys got. It's just like one little corner of snow.
We have one area in New South Wales, which is where I live, and then there's another spot in Victoria, and that's basically literally it for the whole country. And even when we get a good season, they still need to use the snow guns to kind of fill in the blanks. Because it's just, it's so hot, even in winter over here, that the snow just melts. And compared to like Japan and stuff, we're terrible. Yeah.
So this one's for both G-Man and Kirk. But I was going to get into, if you guys had to give any advice to somebody like starting up a gaming YouTube channel, whether it's for reviews or just getting their opinions out there and stuff like that, like what kind of advice would you give them to, get boots on the ground and start running with a YouTube channel?
Well,
difficult question.
You go first. You go first.
Mate, I was just going to wait for you to go, then I'll just copy what you say.
You've been doing this
longer.
longer.
Go, please go first. I don't know. It is hard. It's hard for me to comment on that because, like, I never really started the channel to be a channel. You know what I mean? Like, it was different. I just was making videos because I was unemployed at the time. This was back in like 2013 or whatever. And I was just basically just trying to fill the time. And I was trying to build up like an editing show reel because I was trying to get editing work back then. But I think it's going to sound cliche, man, but I genuinely think the only advice is just to do something that you kind of know what you're talking about and that you enjoy. You know what I mean? I think it's really just that simple, because if you're not covering things that you want to play and enjoy, then like kind of what's the point? The simple answer is just become a grifter and chase all the trends. That seems to be the ticket to success these days. But no, don't do that. I think just find what your wheelhouse is and just do that. I had a mate who started a channel about 5-6 years ago, and he was trying to just review every single game. He was trying to be like another skill up or another whatever. And then he kind of found his niche was in F1 games. I'll give him a shout out, my mate Duty. He found his niche was in F1 games and then covering titles that he played when he was a teenager. And all those videos are the ones that kind of blew up for him. So I think it's just, talk about what you like. The audience seems to pick up on that. And occasionally chase the grift and heap shit on a AAA title. But find the good balance. So you're enjoying things. I think it's that simple.
Yeah, I think that point he just made is absolutely right. I started doing my channel stuff during COVID because all the editing, it's kind of the other way. I was an editor, or still am an editor, but I was doing editing work. All the editing work went away, so I needed something to do to fill my time. And initially I was kind of like, I always had that itch to cover shooters because shooters just fascinated me more. But I was like, well, let's try to be like a skill up and do everything. And very quickly I was like, oh, this is too much. And then it was after I made my video on Dusk for fun because I was frustrated with my other videos. And I was like, I just want to do a game I like. I'm going to do Dusk. That got a response. And I was like, let's dive into this. Like, let's put my voice out there. But along with that, like, absolutely be passionate, be like willing to explore, be willing to be, wrong sometimes, but mostly just like be yourself. I think that's what I've kind of realized. It seems kind of cliche, but that's what I've realized with a lot of this YouTube stuff. A lot of the times people just want the personality, and there's like something about listening. Like, I'm going to fanboy on you a bit, G-Man, but like when I was starting this, because G-Man was one of the first YouTubers I really got into, and I was kind of trying to think like, well, what's the thing? What am I connecting with him other than just like this epic first-person shooter knowledge? And I realized for me, when I listen to G-Man, it reminds me of back when I was in high school talking to my other gamer friends about stuff and like the way we would talk about things. Yeah. It's all right. Oh, it's this. Like, it felt very casual. And then you would pick moments to dive in. And that's when I realized like, people are latching onto a personality first, and then the information comes. If you look at any successful YouTuber, there's that. You can feel their personality coming out. So like, hone in on that. Don't think you have to be one way or another other way. Be yourself. Be prepared to work a lot, because if you want to make it a pillar of your life, especially in those first few years, you're putting out videos all the time. But then to that, I tell a lot of new YouTubers this: take care of yourself. Like, if you need to take a break, take a break. Be careful about your mental health. Be careful about how much you're putting into this, because this can turn into something that's not very fun very, very quick if your head's not there. I've gone through that a few times. So like, and don't be afraid to like take time off. As I've been going through with this freaking doc I've been on, I've been an anxious wreck about not uploading, but then the audience is still there. Thank you. So just take care of yourself, be yourself, work hard. Yeah. And like G-Man said, know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah.
I think
enough garbage
that's
out
really
there.
good advice. I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
it really is good advice from both of you. Yeah.
When
Yeah,
with
just be
large
genuine and
corporations,
do something you like. Yeah.
people follow personalities. It's like working in sales. People don't buy the product; they buy the salesman. Because they trust and believe what they're saying and stuff like that. And I think that's why when people leave IGN and GameSpot or back in Machinima days, people followed the personalities rather than sticking with the brand. And then those
Yeah, for sure.
personalities went on to become successful, game journalists themselves. As someone that ran a news outlet, a gaming news outlet before, and tried emulating the IGN thing, ties into what Kirk was saying. I ended up working like 15, 16-hour days on a daily basis, and it was going nowhere. Because the problem with news is that it's here today, it's gone tomorrow. So if you don't make your views, then you're buggered. You've got to make evergreen content instead. So once you've found your niche, just kind of lock down on it and don't just think that volume is the answer. Your creativity, you as a person, is the answer, and your audience will gravitate towards you.
For sure.
I actually had a follow-up question for you guys, because I know it's the new thing. Everybody says find your niche. And I've heard kind of the prevailing wisdom is not so much that your niche is just a genre, but sort of like what a specific type of audience member has a capacity to like. Like maybe it's horror across RPGs. Like maybe they like Dragon Age Origins more than they like Dragon Age Veilguard because it has more horror in it. And they may also like Fear 2 more than they like, I don't know, Turbo Overkill because they like horror more. And you're the guy that does the horror and they like you as opposed to someone who does the other two. Have you really been able to find anything in your experience to add or subtract to that point that your niche isn't just genre, that it may be just more open to that? Because it's easy to say people just like me from a personality, but that's also coming from an established persona already. Is like if you ever tested the waters with something, people be like, no, get that out of my face. I don't want to hear you talk about Veilguard or whatever it is, if you've been talking about Doom your whole life.
I think G-Man would probably have a more interesting answer to this just because he's been doing it longer. But I've found, like, when I kind of latched on to like the first person shooter niche or like the boomer shooter niche, it was sort of like trying to, if I wanted to do something different, I would try to think like, okay, they have a taste for this, but what tastes might also lean into other stuff. So like an example is, initially I was doing some boomer shooter stuff, and then I decided to do Thief, to do just something a little different, first person, but I know there's people in my audience who like immersive sims, and at the time I had never played it. So I was like, ooh, and I played Thief, got a cool response to that. That was like an early video, but because people liked Thief, I went, I wonder if I could maybe do a video on Splinter Cell and see if people latch onto that. That ended up being one of my biggest videos. So like that's kind of the pathway I follow. Like right now, like I'm starting to kind of bring in more game types other than just like first person shooter boomer shooters, but it's kind of from paying attention to like what people in my Discord are talking about, or what am I trying to say here? Like, here's an example of a video I want to do in the future. I'm pretty confident I could probably make a Max Payne video and it's going to be popular because a lot of people that like first person shooters really love that game, even though it's third person shooter. Like that's like
Right.
simple logic in that realm, but that's how I try to think about it. It's not always perfect. Like my Splinter Cell videos did well, and then I tried to do a Metal Gear video and it flopped on its face. So it's, it's case by case.
How did that Snatcher video go?